Hi, congratulations. Your consultation is booked, and I am really looking forward to talking with you about you as a Middle Eastern dancer, what you've done so far, and where you see yourself going. I myself have been involved in Middle Eastern dance since 1978, and I've seen a lot happen within the business of belly dance, from locally to nationally and internationally. I've also experienced a lot going from being a student to part-time dancer to full-time professional who earns my living performing and teaching Middle Eastern dance. In all this time, more than 40 years now, I have helped a lot of dancers in their journeys as well, and I'd like to be there to help you too. Because we want to focus the consultation on you and not on me or my past experiences and credentials, I thought it would be important to tell you more of my story now, so that we don't have to take time out of our call and so that you know where I'm coming from. I think that you will see how the School of Hard Knocks, or learning everything on the job by just doing it the hard way, taught me how I can now help you with different things, how to solve problems that you are facing or will be facing when you move towards making your dance dreams come true. So let's start at the beginning with the very first belly dance class. Do you remember your first class and how that felt? Mine was in 1978. At that time, there was no internet. I stepped into my first belly dance class at a park district. I had no idea that I would fall in love with belly dancing. I had no preconceived notions of what this dance is supposed to be like. And I certainly didn't even think that I would ever become a full-time professional artist. At that time, I was a teacher and I went to the class with my cousin. I have never seen a belly dance before, never saw a performance, so I had no idea what the movement even was supposed to look like or anything. I did have a background in dance in my youth because I took a lot of ballet classes since I was 3 years old, and I also studied other dance forms. While the belly dance movements were new and different for me, I found that the instructor was really kind and very encouraging. And within that 8-week session, we learned a basic dance routine. Then I saw her perform and I was blown away at how feminine she was. From that point on, I sought out other belly dance classes, found that at the time, unfortunately, popularity of belly dance was declining. While it had peaked in the 60s and earlier in the 70s in America, now there were less people wanting to learn and less classes to be had. Maybe you found that in your area there are not a lot of classes in person, or you aren't even sure that an online class is very good at helping you individually. Certainly today there's always YouTube videos you can watch, but honestly, what I have found is that there's way too many amateurs on YouTube, and there's not a good way to figure out if the person posting really has any established credentials or experience. Anyone can post anything on the internet and claim to be somebody or to know something, even if they don't. So quality is in question. Your best bet is to study with someone who's been a professional Middle Eastern dancer, and preferably a full-time dancer, which is really hard to find. After learning the dance, at least at an intermediate level, and hopefully a little higher, you, like I, wanted to do something with the dance, like become a performer. Of course, in the beginning, you're a part-time performer. You do it on the side after your day job is over. You just want to see what happens, if you will be successful, if you can gain experience, and hopefully you'll get more and more opportunities to perform. When I started to perform, I accepted dance gigs all over the Chicago area. I didn't really know what I was doing. I started out with one costume. I tried to make dance friends and to see what others were doing. Some of them helped me. They brought me along on dance jobs. Sometimes I was their warm-up act, and I could see what they did, what they charged, how they handled the audiences, as well as the person who hired them, because sometimes they worked for a restaurant owner, and sometimes it was a private party individual, somebody who hired you for a belly dance show for a birthday party in their home. Some of those experiences taught me to discern what I liked and what I didn't like, what I wanted to do as a performer. For example, I learned really fast that I do not want to dance for a bachelor party or in bars. I also encountered dancers who didn't want to help me at all. They were not interested in aiding a competitor. And unfortunately, I encountered belly dance teachers who were at first nice to me up until they saw that I wanted to work in the business. And then suddenly they were mean or derogatory or condescending. They tried to discourage me, and sometimes they talked about me behind my back, which when I found out was pretty hurtful, because I didn't bash anybody else and I was just trying to learn how to get ahead. After a while, I had to leave the Chicago area in order to learn more because there just weren't any weekly classes that I could take. This was critical to my evolution because I made a decision to spend more time and money traveling elsewhere to take a seminar. It exposed me to dancers from around the country and to teachers who were guiding how belly dance would evolve in the U.S. There was a seminar circuit at the time where you could grow and dance, be seen and perform. It was a hierarchy, a path to notoriety. If you did well, you'd be invited to perform at another seminar show. If you danced well there, you'd be invited again, which meant you had to continue to invest within the seminar circuit with the hopes of eventually being a dancer that is invited to teach the next workshop and then be the star of the show. It was a long-term investment, but in those years, I did learn a lot. I became a better dancer. I made some connections in the business that I still have today. I made allies. I also made some enemies because there's always some jealous dancers out there who don't want you to succeed faster than they have. Maybe you yourself have encountered a few people like this. Maybe you've also invested in going to workshops around the country. Presently, there isn't a seminar circuit like I'm describing, and there are not as many workshops available anymore. The ones that are mostly are huge convention type of events where the lineup of stars is so great that you couldn't possibly imagine being among them. It's pretty discouraging. While I explored the seminar circuit, I was lucky to find the two people who would become my mentors. It was primarily Ibrahim Babi Farah and Mahmoud Reda. These two fantastic masters instilled in me the belief and the desire to be a full-time dancer who could be an artist in the field. Because of them and their guidance, I decided to uphold the same high standards that they were promoting. I also saw how they made their living in the dance by being performers, instructors, choreographers, troupe directors, and by writing about the dance, researching the dance history, really knowing about the music and everything. They both were tough mentors, and they brought out the best in me and believed in me. Both of them have passed away now, and the dancers they have trained are the only ones who can pass on their knowledge and standards. I would like to impress on you that knowing your dance lineage is very important and something to be proud of. But I also want you to know these two great mentors did not give me everything I needed to know to become the artist that I dreamed of. I learned about choreography from them, how to dance very well, and how to dream big. I still had to learn more, like how to teach a class well, and if I wanted to know more about the history or the music, I had to find other sources. For music, I asked so many musicians that I worked with. Some were happy to share with me, and some were not. For history, I researched books because remember, there was no internet then. In fact, when the internet started, I was one of the first dancers to publish articles that I'd written on the World Wide Web. I also took the time to work with photographers and theater people to learn about lighting, posing, and stage makeup. When I decided to go full-time as a dancer, it was a giant leap of faith. I gave up a full-time job with benefits and I risked everything. It was 1991. I considered going back to college and getting a dance degree, but after investigating, I learned Few universities recognize Middle Eastern dance as an art form. But something happened then that confirmed to me that my decision to go full-time in dance was the right thing. I got invited to live and teach dance, belly dancing, in Europe. It was a school in Vienna, Austria, the city's first Middle Eastern dance studio. While in America, Middle Eastern dance was in a decline of popularity, in Europe it was now booming. So I made a big decision to move to Vienna. I'll have to tell you it was really scary, but it was the best thing that I have ever done. It provided me with experiences that I would never have had in America at that time. I learned so much about the business of being a full-time dancer, and I also learned a lot about myself as a person. Sometimes you have to take a risk and trust in yourself, and then you will never regret the decision. Since that first job in Vienna, I traveled back and forth between many cities in Europe and home to continue teaching and performing. Eventually, I returned home. My home base is Chicago in the mid-90s, and I decided to open a school for Middle Eastern dance. Again, it was a big risk to take. I didn't have anyone to ask for guidance, and I don't have anyone in my family who ever ran their own business. All I knew was that I loved to dance, and I wanted to share that with others. I learned the hard way to run a business, but I also learned that the concept of a Middle Eastern dance studio in America in the 90s was a little bit ahead of its time. So after 2 years, I had to close the doors. My attempt at a dance school failed, but I learned especially how to open a business. I learned how to operate a studio, how to be the marketing person and the bookkeeper, as well as the instructor and the artistic director. It laid the groundwork for me to try again. And the next time I opened a studio, it did succeed, and in a really big way. Throughout my 4 decades in belly dance, I also tried many other things to diversify my income in dance. For example, I produced 3 DVDs, 2 of which were instructional and 1 was of a theater production. I produced a CD of belly dance music in Egypt, which was an expensive, time-consuming project. I sponsored seminars with stars, including both my mentors and other great dancers that I brought here from Chicago, from Egypt, from Europe, and the US. I became known in the Chicago area as the biggest producer of theater-scale Middle Eastern dance shows, including writing a complete 2-hour dance story that was sold out for several performances, being the first and only one of its kind. I ran 3 different professional dance companies that grew to have excellent reputations with the theater world, with cultural events and educational venues. I also wrote articles about belly dance for printed publications for about 20 years now, and eventually I started my own blog. You can see that I've done a lot. Sometimes I tried and failed. Sometimes I tried and succeeded in a big way. All of it was worth it to me because the dance is something I love and respect, and I love to share it with others, both on the stage and in the classroom. I am particularly excited to coach other dancers, to help them believe that they too can be somebody in the world of Middle Eastern dance. Dancers like yourself who have dreams but are not exactly sure how to proceed. Nowadays we have the internet, which is a wonderful resource. Middle Eastern dance has become a globally adopted art form because there's dancers all over the world performing this beautiful dance. We can also see on the internet what's going on in the Middle East, what dancers are doing there right now. Unfortunately, the state of affairs is rather disappointing because there are far too many rather naked, rather easy sleazy versions of the dance plastered all over social media. For those of us who love this dance, I believe that if we work together, we can make it better. We can restore Middle Eastern dance to the sassy, classy version that commands respect as an art form. I believe that those of us who have seen a lot and danced for decades should care about the next generation of dancers and help them, mentor them, guide them to uphold high standards like Mahmoud Reda and Bobby Farah did before us. So when you and I talk on our scheduled call, I want you to come to the call with a list of things that you have already accomplished as a dancer. and with another list of things that you would like to accomplish in the future. Please don't be modest either. Write down all your goals, from the smallest ones to the biggest ones, even the ones you think that maybe they'll never come true. We'll design a path for you to reach those goals, one at a time. You'll see that it can happen with a little help from a coach who will encourage and guide you towards your dreams. I can't wait to talk to you.